Hey everyone, this is going to be a pretty short review. If you've already played the first Spider-Man game and the Miles Morales spin-off game, then you know exactly what you're going to be getting with Spider-Man 2. Released in 2023, Spider-Man 2 is still only available on the PlayStation 5, with a PC release still likely over a year away in 2025. You can pick it up now on the PlayStation Store for about $70 American, although it does go on sale at times. Let's start with this review with a too long didn't watch. Is Spider-Man 2 good? Yup, it's a 9 out of 10. It takes everything that was good about the first Spider-Man game and the add-ons from Miles Morales and improves upon them. The story is excellent, the voice acting and cast is phenomenal, and there's about 15 to 20 hours of content to play through. Do you need to have played the first game and Miles Morales to understand what's going on? Yep. Otherwise, you're going to be pretty lost. Since Miles is such an important part of the story, you're going to need to have played the Miles Morales spin-off game in order to establish his character and his motivations. I would also recommend that if it has been a while since you played the first Spider-Man game, maybe watch a recap video or replay it if you have a chance. Going into the technicals, Spider-Man 2 isn't perfect. The frame rate is a pretty solid 60 FPS on performance mode, although I found that it did dip sometimes before transitioning to a cutscene. Like a short stuttering would happen, but never during combat or any time that it was important. The game never crashed on me, but there were some bugs. I had the occasional flicker in the environment where things would disappear and come back rapidly. I had my character get stuck on objects in the world. I would turn around for no reason while I was swinging, making the chase sections of the game frustrating at times, especially when Spider-Man would fling himself into the completely wrong direction. All of this stuff is forgivable. It's pretty standard for a fast-paced open-world game, and truth be told, it's as polished as the other first-party Sony games, meaning the bugs and the glitches are still pretty rare. The enemy AI, however, still has some major problems. They get stuck on everything, glitch into walls or piles of sand so that only an arm or a head sticks out. Some of them will just stand in the distance, looking at the opposite way while you fight everyone else and never move, forcing you to look for a red dot on your map to find them because they're hidden in a bush or behind a trash can or something. I don't recall that being such a problem in the first game or Miles Morales, but it was a problem here. It's not game-breaking or anything, but it is noticeable at times. Look, the graphics, Spider-Man 2 is a beautiful game, whether you play it on performance mode or the fidelity mode, which is like the quality mode. The character models are detailed, the world is lovingly crafted, and New York is this massive open world. I love the details on the spider suits that you can unlock in-game. Each of them are unique and colorful, some of them are really crazy, while other ones are pretty tame. But you don't need me to gush about the graphics. You can see them for yourself in the clips that you're watching right now. What's most important is that the developers took care of everything they did. This is a world that you're going to enjoy exploring, and one that you're never going to get bored looking at.
Hey Pete, I'm working on a college application and it says I gotta tell them about myself.
More like sell yourself. It's the worst.
You got any advice?
Well, take me. Hi, I'm Peter Parker. I'm 25 years old, I have a bachelor's degree in biophysics, and I'm in love with the greatest woman ever.
Humble brag.
Who is the best journalist in this city.
Word. Go MJ.
I try to live up to the example set by the other greatest woman ever, my Aunt May.
Humble brag again. Damn.
Okay, the gameplay. It's a Spider-Man game. You already know what you're going to be doing. You're going to be web swinging across the city and fighting bad guys. However, this time you do have the option of playing as either Miles or Peter, depending on the mission, or if you're out in the open world, you can swap between them at any time. Each of them play differently, but they do have different special abilities. Miles has these electrical powers that you may be familiar with from the Miles Morales game, but he gets some upgrades throughout the story. But you can swap out his old abilities for his new ones, depending on your playstyle. Peter has a bunch of gadgets to enhance his abilities, and this is a slight spoiler here, but it's a year-old game, so although you probably already knew from the trailers, if you're a fan of the Spider-Man games, he does get the Venom symbiote, allowing him to have a few different upgrades to choose from. And that's pretty much it, except you can now glide using these wings on your suit like a flying squirrel. You swing, you explore, you fight some enemies, you repeat. You played this game twice already, once in the first Spider-Man game and again in Miles Morales. The fundamentals are exactly the same, though there are a few improvements. I think that's an important detail to talk about. When Spider-Man 2 was released, it got this great critical reception and scores, but it didn't win any Game of the Year awards or many awards at all. Why did such a great game, with great reviews and fantastic sales, kind of not make as big of an impact as the first game. I remember Spider-Man for the PlayStation 4 was like this cultural phenomenon when it was released, but Spider-Man 2 kind of just was there. It sold 11 million copies, and it had a development budget of over $300 million. Why wasn't this a shoo-in for the Game of the Year award? Well, there's a few reasons, but 2023 was a pretty good year for video games. That's pretty much generally agreed upon. I had a lot of great releases. But what separated Spider-Man 2 from some of the other winners, and potentially held it back when it came to the Game Awards? In my opinion, it's because the game plays it really safe. Almost way too safe. It reminds me of a movie sequel from the 80s or 90s, where the mentality of the big studios were, make it again. The first Spider-Man game was a massive success, and Miles Morales followed up was a pretty big hit too, although it was originally meant to be DLC. Spider-Man 2's massive budget means that they needed a hit. They needed to sell millions of copies just to break even. Instead of trying for a big swing and a potential miss, they went for a safe bunt. They didn't want to rock the boat, try something new that had the potential to not work. They wanted to deliver a solid Spider-Man game with the capability for more sequels. Spider-Man 2 suffers from the same problem that a lot of AAA games that are bordering on quadruple A budgets have. They are so expensive to make and take so long to develop that they're becoming risk adverse. Nothing is going to happen in this Spider-Man game or any future ones that is going to upset this apple cart. Don't expect any major changes in the formula. When Spider-Man 3 eventually releases in like 2030 or so, and the PlayStation 6, it's going to be this game with better graphics, but still a similar story, and maybe a few new gimmicks to show off the power of the new console. It's not going to suddenly pivot into something different, even if the gameplay is starting to get a bit stale after 3 games. Swinging around New York with Arkham Asylum type combat and stealth was amazing the first time, but after 3 games, it's probably time to switch things up a bit. Maybe the Spider-Men need guns and they can shoot orbs for power-ups and fly around New York with jetpacks. And most importantly, keep the quips coming and the microtransactions fresh. If you can't tell, that's me being sarcastic. Please don't add guns to the Spider-Man game. If you haven't played Spider-Man 2 yet, but you have played the first game, you've already played this one. You may not know the story, but you know how it's going to play out. Nothing is really going to surprise you. There isn't any game-changing new gimmicks that shakes things up. It just does what the first game did, but better.
I'm here!
Good morning, class. We have a new teacher joining us today.
Hi. My name's Pete, Mr. Parker. And we are all very lucky today, because this is physics class, and physics is awesome.
Okay, story. I don't know how to talk about the story without spoiling it. That's something I really just don't want to do. Spider-Man 2 is a direct continuation from the first Spider-Man game and the Miles Morales spin-off. You need to have played those games to understand what's going on. You play as Peter Parker and Miles Morales. Their storylines are intertwined. Miles went from being sort of like a sidekick to Peter at first, to being his own Spider-Man that does things his way. A lot of the story revolves around their work-life balance. How do you be Spider-Man, which is like a full-time job that just doesn't pay anything, but still maintain both your home life and a job to pay the bills? Well, if you're Peter and Miles, you just don't. Peter can't hold down a job and the bills are piling up. He's an adult now with a house and responsibilities. He has his job, he's Spider-Man, and he has his personal relationships with Harry Osborn, Mary Jane Watson, and Miles Morales. He's juggling all 3 aspects of his life, and he isn't doing any of them really well. Miles, on the other hand, is this young student who's about to graduate high school and is looking to go to university. His personal life is also at odds with his Spider-Man duties. The entire story revolves around this work-life balance problem and the issues that come with being a Spider-Man when you live in a giant city like New York and it needs you, but you also need to carve out time for the people close to you. And you need money. Honestly, Peter and Miles should start like a Patreon or a Kickstarter or something, and neither of them really thought about that in the game. It's kind of this weird thing where, like, Spider-Man used to be a photographer for the Daily Bugle, which is something that used to be able to pay when it was like the 70s, 80s, 90s, when Spider-Man was in the comics. But now in this modern world, like, being a photographer for a newspaper doesn't really bring any money at all. It's this challenge where you have these old characters in this new world, and how do they adapt to that? The story is great, with a lot of memorable characters and callbacks to both the comic books, television shows, and the previous games in the series. But if you're the type of player that hates cutscenes and you just want to get right to the action, Spider-Man is one of those watching type of games as much as it is a playing one. There are long stretches of just exposition and characters talking. There's an entire movie's worth of cutscenes interspersed with combat sections. But again, if you've played the first game, you already know what that's like. Which brings us to the conclusion of another review. Spider-Man 2 is a better game than Spider-Man 1 and Miles Morales. It improves upon everything from those games while introducing a couple new minor gameplay elements and a very interesting story. But it doesn't reinvent the wheel. If you didn't like the previous games in the series, this one isn't different enough to change your opinion. With a gameplay length of 15 to 20 hours, it might be worth picking up if you're a huge fan of the series. But at $90 Canadian or $70 US, that's a big price for the length of the game. Worth is often very subjective, and I can't say that there isn't enough value for your money here, but it's a big ask. I would recommend that you pick it up on sale, especially since it's been out for about a year now. Just be aware that if you're waiting for the PC release, it's still going to be full price when it releases there. It does go on sale on the PlayStation Store on the PlayStation 5 for about $50. Which I feel is a much better price for it. I'm the Casual Console Gamer. Thanks for watching. I hope you leave a like, maybe a comment, and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you all in the next review where I'm going to be playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.